I'm Danny Brown, and you're listening to 1 Minute Podcast Tips, the show that helps you be a better podcaster in just a minute a week. If you want more specific tips just for you and your podcast, check out the Magic Mike membership at 1minutepodcasttips.com/support. And now, this week's episode. This week's tip is a listener tip for Diane Wingard of the Driven Woman Entrepreneur podcast. Diane left a really nice review for 1 Minute Podcast Tips on Apple Podcasts, and if you enjoy the show, you can do the same at 1minutepodcasttips.com/review. Now to Diane's question. Diane wants to know, how do you let your listeners know if you want to rebrand your podcast? And that's a great question. The main thing is to ensure your listeners aren't confused by the rebrand. So whether it's just a name change or a complete change, including topics, artwork and more, it's key that you let your listeners know ahead of time. Now, there are a few ways to do this. The obvious way is to mention in episodes leading up to the rebrand. That way you can tell your listeners that the format's changing and what to look out for. However, not everybody listens to all your episodes. So ideally, if your podcast host allows it, you would use dynamic content and insert an audio snippet across all your episodes advising of the change. And make sure you let them know what to look out for. So if it's just a name, give them the name of the podcast. If it's artwork and more, give them an idea what the artwork's going to look like. That way, when you do make the rebrand, they can look out for that work on the preferred podcast app. And of course, if you've got a newsletter for your podcast, send an update ahead of time, letting your listeners know when the change will happen and what to look out for. From a time frame point of view, I'd always recommend at least a month ahead of the rebrand itself. That way you can let both existing and new listeners know about it. Until the next time, happy podcasting. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy 1 Minute Podcast Tips, be sure to share with your friends and other podcasters so they can enjoy it too. Until the next time, happy podcasting.